going on, everyone? December 28th, 2020. Welcome back to A to Z. It's Monday, and we've got new all-time highs. So with that in mind, let's just go ahead and get this show started. So we've got Ronnie out in Chicago. Say what's up.
What's going on?
All right, but before we get going, we just also got to let you guys know this is not investment advice. We are not investment advisors. We hold no registrations or licenses. Yeah, so Ronnie, what'd you think about that? We had signature on the stimulus bill. That got approved last night. That pushed us up about 20 handles on the ES and ultimately ended up being a nice gap that held all morning.
Yeah, it just kept going on up, and I just got a tweet saying that there's the $2,000 extra bonus stimulus got passed in the House, and now it's going to the Senate. So might be in for even more stimulus pretty soon. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Something to keep an eye out. The market certainly seems to be appreciating any positive news on the stimulus bill. So let's just keep an eye out. But with that in mind, let's just go ahead and get started with the show. So if we take a look at starting with the SPY, we had a nice gap coming in here on Monday morning relative to Friday. And this was clean. So this really helped get us out of last week's range. And it was a gap and hold. There was really minimal gap fill. It just really went sideways, just digested the gap for the rest of the day. So really looking at the indices, there wasn't too much movement from the open. So most of the move was in the overnight. Similarly, if we look at the Qs, for that you had a partial gap fill on Monday morning, but again you had a recovery. So again, just showing that relative strength. The Russell, that was interesting, but hit 201. So it definitely broke through that magical 200 barrier. But then for the rest of the day, it was just slowly going lower. Russell we're usually thinking about as being a risk-on type index. So we got to keep an eye on this. If this starts rolling over, then we got to keep an eye on the other big boys, the SPY and the QQQ. However, if you look at just going back over the last couple of months, IWM, that's just been on a tear. Like we said, it's still never come back and pulled in and touched its 20. But what I would say is overall, the Russell had been strong. SPY and the NASDAQ, those, while they were showing some strength for the last couple of months, they were doing a lot of slow grind higher. So if we're having a little bit of rotation out of some of the traditional Russell 2000 type stocks and moving back into the classic big names that I'm going to go through, which is what we saw going on today, you just have this rotation that's happening in the market. So it's actually healthy seeing that things are just filling in back and forth. What'd you think?
Yeah, my focus was really on the growth side of things, and there was a bit of a dip on majority of those. FUBO, everything in that Lemonade, all these like stocks that had high flying recent weeks. Palantir also had a drop. I think this just presents another buying opportunity for me because I'll take whatever I can get on these drops because I'm expecting bigger rips. These big names like Amazon and whatnot, they had their day today though. I was surprised to see they finally started breaking out on a move.
But yeah, let me go through a little FANG plus T. So we've got Facebook. Again, I was talking about this yesterday. Not really clean chart, just moving sideways. Today had a nice strong move. Went up solid, almost $10 or 3.6%. But if you're looking at the chart, you could see that it's come in now and it's touching the confluence of the 20 and the 50. Again, I'm not seeing anything really in here that I want to do actionable. I just don't want to mess with Facebook at all. We did discuss Apple. Now, if you take a look at Apple had a real nice day today. It was up 472, and we've seen that 130 breakout area that's held. And now it looks like we're just within a shot of the prior all-time highs of 138. So that was definitely something that we talked about, being long in Apple, having some in the money, call butterflies, as well as now some short-term weeklies just to see if you could collect a little bit. So all that looks to be working out quite well with a 130, 140, 150 call butterfly going out into the end of the week. And then the 130, 150, 170 call butterfly going out in the January. Now, Netflix, again, even though it did have a decent day being up $5, if you look at it, what it was doing today, it actually ended up having a drop, and then it's moved quite a bit higher. So there was a decent amount of movement. So if there's anyone out there who's day trading and looking into that, then it was certainly active, but still overall, we still have just this pattern where it's just settling into this consolidation. Now let's talk about Amazon next. Now this is one of the big boys, and we talked about how it's just been going around 3,200, chopping around for several months. Now there was a short term, it looked to be potential breakout above about 3,260. And once Amazon took that out, then it went to the races, and it just peaked over 3,300 today. I think that as long as we stay above 3,260, then I think that looks solid. We're going into January for a potential play on the long side. Looking at this into earnings, which are going to be going into February. So this was the holiday season. We had everyone who was doing a lot of ordering and shopping online. So it's possible that they may have a nice quarter. Now, it's always based on the expectation. Everyone knows that. The market knows that. So it's going to be expecting something big out of Amazon. But we'll see how that's going to play out. We definitely were looking at and got into some short-term call verticals, as well as selling some put butterflies for collecting some credit. And that looks to be working out thus far pretty well. And really, I think...
You mentioned that real quick, a shop. I heard shopping. So just do you see a correlation between like Amazon running up, shop going down? Because they really seem to be against each other. Shop trying to pull all the resellers onto their platform so that Amazon doesn't get a cut. What do you think that's going to be like coming up into the earnings season?
Yeah, I think going into the earnings season, I would really be looking at Amazon, and I would probably looking at Target, something like a 3,300, 3,500, 3,700, something like that, call butterfly. It's going to cost quite a bit, but I think there is a decent possibility if you can reduce that debit on a week-by-week basis leading up into earnings. Now, thinking about this in relation to Shop, when I've been looking at Shop and Amazon, it's almost as if they're inversely correlated. So we talked about yesterday that 1,200 mark on Shop. That got broken today, and it just pushed down even further. So overall, the market was really strong today, but Shop was really weak. And seeing that its weakness, and it looks almost perfectly correlated in the inverse with Amazon, that I think that if Shop continues lower, which it certainly has a possibility to do, that we got to be just sticking with Amazon, which is nice to see. Rounding out some of the other FANG stocks, we've got Microsoft. There was another strong day with Microsoft. I think staying above 225, we got to be looking at targeting its prior all-time highs in the 230 range. Tesla was really just going sideways. It really didn't do much today. It was a nice premium collection day if it was something that you got into. Google, we talked about Google and how it looked like it was just setting above the top of the gap and right on top of the 50. Today was a real strong day with Google. It was up 40. But what it did was it looked above its 20-day simple moving average, but didn't close above it. So I think that we just keep an eye on this. If it continues to strengthen with the rest of the market, then we could be looking at the top of the gap at about 1,700. That's an area you could potentially collect some premium. But if you wanted to go even lower, you could be collecting premium around the 1,650 on the put side. Chip stocks today, they were weak. Again, NVTA, I wouldn't be messing with this. It just looks like it's been going sideways. AMD as well. This isn't looking that good right now. It's possible that it just needs to consolidate what's been a really nice move here going into the winter.
Real quick, do you think it would be a good play on NVIDIA, for instance, or AMD? Because AMD usually just settles in a range, or it has in the past, and kind of just chops around to sell for premium on both the call and put side,
Yeah,
or strike, or maybe like an 85 strike, something like that.
yeah, I think for AMD,
What are you
so
thinking?
right now AMD's 9160. I don't think that's a bad shout. I think in this range where it's at, let's just pull up and see what's out there. So
Maybe
looking at,
sell 2-3 weeks out, and then close it out when you're up at least like 50%.
yeah, AMD traditionally doesn't have really big day-to-day moves. It has some instances where it does pop. But looking out into next week, if you're looking at the 91 put and the 91 call, if you were to sell both of those, you would be collecting about $5 in premium. Now, if you needed to cap that off just to reduce your margin, and let's see what it would be if you bought it for, let's say, 7 wide. Yeah, that's not a bad shout. I think that we could look into that if you sold into next week the 91 call, the 91 put, and you bought the 98 call and the 84 put, you could collect 420 credit. So that looks like it's not bad. That was a good call, Ronnie.
All right, we'll follow up on that. Not my usual or typical type of play, as I just go straight long, but we'll see how doing something your way works out.
Yeah. What do you think, Ronnie? What else do you got on your list?
Yeah, I think the memes that make dreams were up in the pre-market, but then they started falling off. GameStop, F the like. I'm thinking in recent weeks we heard from Kathy Wood. If you guys don't know, that's from ARC, the head of that. And she was talking about in an interview that she was slightly rotating into the bigger dogs, the traditional FANG, Amazon, Google, whatever is in that, Apple, as using it as like a cash reserve. So I thought that was an interesting take. And as we saw, those were the ones that have been going up. So I think it might be interesting to take a look at what they're buying and selling. They release that daily because people are tending to follow into those trends of what they're doing too, the growth themselves. But on the growth side, she also had mentioned in that interview about going into genomics. And that was on a Friday, that interview, I believe, about 2 weeks ago. And that Monday, everything popped on genomes. CRISPR, edit, and another one I'd like to shout out is NVTA. I think it's NVTA. It's another genomic play. Had a little bit of a drop. If you can pull up that chart, let us know what the pricing is at.
Yeah,
right
so
now.
this is NVTA. Yeah, so NVTA Corp. It's at 45. And just me looking at this chart, this doesn't look like anything that I would want to mess with.
Yeah, for me personally, I think it's on that long-term play, like how the EV Tesla plays, it blew up. You just gotta buy in, dollar cost average DCA into this over time, and just hold and wait for that pop.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that. I don't agree with that, Ronnie. This to me does not look that clean whatsoever. It's in the middle of a range. I think there's a possibility this could go lower.
That's what I'm saying, DCA into it. So just every week, put a little into it until you're fully into your position. Don't go all in right now. Small percentages of what you're thinking of exposing yourself to. But that's the way I'm going to play that. Another thing that we got looking forward into is Upstart, UPST. So this was a shout out by another Fin Twitter, John Lupton, and it looks pretty interesting. It's like a play like Lemonade, and that had quite a big swing. If you pull up Lemonade, LMND, up to about like 120, I think, as they're getting approvals into other countries, into other states. on their use. Another, the ticker I just mentioned was UPST. It's another type of tech underwriting lending play, trying to take the traditional route of getting that into a fast, efficient, automated way.
Yeah. So these are the things that are
That's
out there that, thanks Ronnie, out in FinTwit, things that are largely unheard of, names that I've never heard of, but it sounds like there's people out there who are talking about it, and certainly people who are out there willing to buy it. FUBO. How'd you do with that, Ronnie?
My buy-in price is still at 30. It's been trending down still after that short call out, but I'm still long on this one.
Yeah.
The theme is at-home streaming, so
there's
I think
plenty of at-home streaming that's out there, though. Who do you know who watches FUBO TV? Actually,
honestly,
who could you even
idea.
find who has even heard of FUBO TV? I think that an $8 target probably isn't unreasonable. This thing just went parabolic, and then you had all those short-term momentum traders. They're all getting rinsed out right now. So I personally wouldn't be surprised if this went lower.
Also, as a service, I think it's one of the more expensive ones.
Yeah, what I would say is it looks like just today was a day where many of the stay-at-homes actually went lower. So FUBO was lower, Zoom had a big move lower, DocuSign had a big move lower, Peloton moved lower. So there's a decent amount of, it looks like, rotation out of the stay-at-homes and going into the traditional tech names today. And it's not bad. Those stay-at-homes, they've been pretty popular. They've been moving. They've been flying high. We need to get some of that. Facebook, Amazon, these guys need to get moving and have some legs to really help drive this market higher. But with that, you got anything else, Ronnie?
Yeah, we'll see what's going on with this vaccine news as it's coming out. The likes of Boeing, the airlines, they got a bump from that stimulus bill, around $5 billion, I think it was. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting to look at into the 2021s.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll be back with you guys here in a couple of days. Good luck, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Take care.